Hello everyone and welcome to Hot Take Haven, the series where I review your hot takes about TF2, video games, and other stuff. This is the first episode of this series. I wanted to start it because I think that there should be a space for people to give their unpopular opinions, their hot takes, their weird thoughts. And I'll even give it a ranking from 1 flames out of 10. I'm not going to do that, I lied. But yeah, so we're going to just get into it. These were all submitted on my Discord and my YouTube community tab. In the future, all of my hot takes will be sourced from my Discord, because getting them from 2 separate places resulted in way more hot takes than I thought. So if you want your hot take featured in the next video, join the Discord. The link is in the description. Without any further ado, let's get started. From member of the channel Ace, it's hypocritical to want Sniper nerfed, but also want the Ambi to go back to its original state, although it should still get a slight buff. Now, this is a good one. I agree that the problem with the Ambi was that it gave Spy too much influence over too big of a space, and realistically, he should not be able to headshot people and do massive damage from across the map. A lot of people said that that was because he was not the class who was supposed to do that. I am of the perspective no class should be able to do that. So I agree with this. I think this is a good take. This is solid. I also think that in regards to the buff that it should get, it should not be buffed into its original state. I think its original state was bad. However, it is still pretty underpowered as it is currently relative to other weapons. Realistically, the actual answer is that the Diamondback should just be nerfed, so that way all of the other revolvers can compete on a more even playing field, because the Diamondback is just far and away the best revolver in the game, and it's not close. So, thank you, Ace. That was a good take. I give it a solid good take out of 10. Next, we have the man himself, Masahiro Sakurai, who said, "I'd be okay with updates being much smaller in scale, like maybe less than 5 maps per update, and have less popular maps be on rotation, so the map coordinator doesn't crap itself trying to find a game." Also, like, at this point, I just want weapon rebalancing. It really sucks getting into the game post Blue Moon because nothing ever changes weapon-wise during updates. So, this is a two-parter take. The first half I completely agree with. Frankly, I'm not even sure if we should be getting community updates at all, given the quality of content that's been put into the game as of late through these community updates. However, if we're going to get them, I think that scaling them down and going quality over quantity would be a solid change. So I do agree with this. Now, the second point I actually disagree with, because I do not trust Valve to rebalance these weapons in a way that makes them better and not worse. Like I just mentioned with the Diamondback, for all I know, they could nerf the Diamondback into obscurity, and then it never gets used by anyone ever again. But for instance, maybe they nerf it to where, I don't know, it only gets mini crits on sapping, and that's the only way you get crits with the revolver, which will make it like just a worse ambassador at that point, and that would just be awful. But that's absolutely something I could see Valve doing, because the team that works on the game has gone through so many phases that I feel as if they're disconnected from the original intention or balancing decisions that were made, you know, over a decade ago almost. So first half I agree with. Second half I think is a little wrong, personally. Next we have Moronic Rock, who said 1.7.10 is the best version of Minecraft, the proper balance between survival, sandbox, and adventure elements. Obviously, this is not a TF2 related take, but it is one that I agree with if we are talking about released versions of the game. 1.7.10 was the version before diorite and andesite and granite were all added, so you already have that, which is great, because I hate all 3 of those blocks for filling up your inventory with filler every time you want to go mine anywhere. This was also the update before enchanting was made worse, and a bunch of other things. Of course, this came before the combat update as well, and also just a bunch of filler updates that added bloat to the game that didn't need to be there. So if we're talking purely about release versions, and we can't include, because my personal take is that 1.7.3 beta is the best version of the game, like objectively speaking, because 1.7.10 still has hunger, which is an awful system. Overall, if we're talking purely release versions, I 100% agree this is a good take. If we're talking about versions overall, I'd probably put it second below 1.7.3 beta, but still, very good take. Very, very good. Solid. Next, we have Zaws998, who says, people who ask to fix casual mode should be called out more often when their fixes are just returning old features from quick play. You cannot and will not have both. I think that this is a misnomer and kind of based around the idea that the word casual mode, or the words casual mode, and the word quick play are diametrically opposed. We could hypothetically see a universe where casual mode is changed in every way but name, and that would be fixing casual mode. I think when people say they should fix casual mode, and they're just adding things from quick play, or changing things to more resemble quick play, that is fixing casual mode. You're taking the thing that was there and you're changing it to be better. Maybe you're of the perspective that casual mode is representative of a broader problem that needs to be changed in the community or whatever, you know, competitive skill-based matchmaking, all that. But I think that's a little silly. I think that people who want to fix casual mode by changing it to quick play are as valid as people who just want quick play to come back, personally, because I think those are basically the same perspective. Moving right along to the Discord takes, this one is from Plumsy, who says, casual mode is fine as it is. As someone who started... That's a very bold opinion to take. As someone who started playing TF2 1 year after Jungle Inferno was released, never experienced quick play, and kept playing despite the lack of updates during the past few years, I think reworking the casual queuing system would simply be just too much and would cause a lot of disagreements between players. Well, Plumsy, this shit is already causing disagreements between players. I don't see how trying to make it better would cause more disagreements. Because in what other situation would you think that in trying to improve the system that you have would make it worse? I mentioned earlier I don't trust Valve to do balancing, but that's because it's a game design problem. The matchmaking system is entirely a programming-based problem. The developers don't need to look at really anything other than, oh, this is not functional. Things like the players being poorly distributed between matches, players being able to join matches that are ending, everyone leaving at the end of matches or being kicked out at the end of matches, people being thrown into matches with no one in them, queues taking massive amounts of time, exponentially longer if you're in two different regions. All of these things are base improvements that could just be fixed, and it would just make things better. I don't see how it would cause disagreements for players to be given a better system, or even for Valve to attempt to make a better system. Hypothetically, they could make the matchmaker worse. I'm open to that opportunity myself. I feel like Valve could absolutely just make things worse, but I don't think that means that this current system shouldn't be touched at all. So I have to disagree. I appreciate you submitting, though, Plumsy. I respectfully disagree with you. Next, we have a friend of the channel, Blueander, who said, the TF2 workshop would still function even if there was no profit to be made. I don't know if it's a hot take, but basically, quote, items and maps would still be made even if the creator sees no revenue from an update and Valve takes 100% of it all. Basically, volunteer work with some bragging rights if your item gets accepted. Little Big Planet did it. I don't care if you make a living off of TF2 items, I didn't hire you. I'm not sure what the significance of this take is, but I do agree. I don't think that Valve has to compensate creators in order for the TF2 workshop to function. I do think people with passion and love for the game would still make things for it regardless. I do think it's interesting, though, to imagine how the workshop would be different if there was no financial incentive involved. I genuinely, with like no bias, I don't know if it would make things better or worse. I'm not as intimately familiar with the workshop as some other people, so I genuinely don't know if that would make things better or worse. I could see it going both ways, depending on how much the financial incentive plays a role in the production of things and the expedited production of things. So I genuinely don't know, but I do agree that it would still function regardless of if there was a financial incentive or not. So good take, I agree. Next up, we have Pier is the only good map in recent years. This one's spicy. It gets a stupid like 10 on the spiciness scale. This is crazy. I'm talking about enjoyable maps to play in. There are lots of quote-unquote acceptable community-made maps, but I'm talking about you enjoying the map itself for any particular reason, not anything that isn't part of the map like TF2's gameplay. There are no recent maps that make me happy to play in it specifically, unlike older community/Valve maps, let's say after Jungle Inferno was when it got bad. So, I don't think this is correct. I don't even know if... I disagree with this on multiple levels. One, I'm not even sure... I really like Pier, but I know it's not a universally loved map. I certainly don't think it looks like a classic TF2 map by any means. Stuff like Mercenary Park looks much better and much closer to TF2 in its early days. So on an art style level, I'm not sure how many people really appreciate Pier. And I know a lot of people don't like its layout and think it plays bad. I disagree, but I know a lot of people do think that. You're already off to a weird start because a lot of people aren't going to say that Pier is good in the first place. I love Pier, but that's a contentious part of this take out the gate. But secondly, Pier came out on December 3rd, 2020, and since then we've gotten a bunch of updates, which I'm not saying that those updates are great, but if we go to like summer 2024, summer 2024 gave us Applejack, and summer 2023 gave us Hardwood and Shark Bay. Even as bad as the recent summer 2025 update was, I think Fulgur is in a similar tier. So yeah, I think all of those maps that I just mentioned are better than Pier. So on multiple levels, I think this take kind of falls apart. I appreciate you submitting, but I have to respectfully disagree. So yeah, that is the ending of this episode of Hot Take Haven. If you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, all of that nonsense. I will see you all next time, same place, same time, and as always, stay tuned and stay lucid. Bye-bye.